Well, always good to get an update from our finance guy, Gavin Martin from Cornerstone Wealth. And since it was budget night last night, good to be able to get Gavin's perspectives on the budget. Hi, Gavin. Welcome back to 2020.
G'day, Neil. Great to be with you. Yeah, it's a bit of a sweet and sour budget, this one.
Yes, a sweet and sour budget. People are talking about a confused budget. In fact, that's what the opposition is saying. Did you make out some sort of confusion, or when you say sweet and sour, you're talking about obviously, good things for families, taking from the rich, giving to the poor, those sorts of things?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, Neil. It's a budget really targeted at Labor's heartland, the low and middle income earners, with a bit of a cash handout to families and those on welfare. The only ones that seem to have missed out in terms of those on welfare are the single parents who have children older than 8 years old. They're being encouraged to move back into the workforce with some cutbacks in their support.
There is some concern there, and there are some lobby groups that are saying that the government really has let down the unemployed because they're missing out.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of spending, and some people have called it a carbon tax bribe to compensate for the introduction of the carbon tax, and it's often those on the lower incomes that really feel the pain of that as the cost of living goes up.
Well, Gavin, the forecast budget surplus, $1.5 billion, there's opposition concerns that maybe the government might not be able to hit that surplus in 12 months' time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a big question mark. Last year's budget was blown out by twice the amount, so it was predicted to be I think $22 to $24 billion deficit, and ended up being $44 billion. So the view of the opposition is, well, can they actually keep this year's budget under control? What they have done is often when you have a bad year, you make it a really bad year, and so they've brought forward a number of the cash payouts to this financial year to make it's been a bad year, let's make it a worse year, and therefore we can make next year's better. So, but it is very much reliant on another $38 billion worth of tax coming in, and without the economy taking off a little bit or getting the growth that they need, it's going to be very difficult to achieve the outcome of a $1.5 billion surplus.
Gavin, let's come back to families and the benefits that they are going to receive from last night's announcements. How are families going to, in fact, benefit from the budget announcements last night? Yeah,
it's all driven through family tax benefits. So they're going to receive family tax benefit. If you're on the full benefit, I think it's $600 per annum for a child, and then $300 for a second child. One of the interesting things with multiple children, they just stop at 2 children there. So I guess they're targeting the two children or less in that scenario. The other big one, which is more of a cash handout, is changing the education tax rebate, where you had to collect your receipts to that you've paid out on particular school-related items to then get some money back on your tax return. They're changing that to just a straight handout to pay $410, I think it was, for primary school age children, and $800 for secondary aged children. So that's the big cash splash. They're bringing that forward in terms of they're doing the full payment before the end of this financial year. So there are 2 ways that families are going to benefit from a bit of a cash splash, so to speak.
Gavin, business also gets a tax break, but they're not getting the cuts in tax that was promised as a result of the mining tax.
Yeah, this is the sour side of the budget. So all these initiatives or directed at families and those on welfare are really being funded by the scrapping of the corporate tax cuts. So 2% was supposed to be for small business, 1% for large business, and that's being abolished altogether. The government saying that it's because they wouldn't get it through the parliament anyway, but they're being attacked a little bit by some members saying they didn't even give it a go. But I guess they're focusing on their political heartland, trying to win back the minds of low and middle income earners by doing so. And you mentioned that there is some benefit to small business by being able to claim back tax losses. Claim back losses, but it's a very limited number of businesses. I think it's only about 120,000 businesses that's going to impact, whereas a tax cut across the board would have affected everybody, given those people that are perhaps not in the red, they're in the black, but they're still struggling a bit, though. It would help those type of businesses.
Gavin, some seniors groups think that the elderly might have been a little neglected in the budget, but there was a lot of money that was announced before the budget going towards upgrades to aged care in the coming time.
Yeah, some of the major items include aged care, National Disability Scheme, dental care package, and I guess that carbon tax. But the aged care, yeah, it's getting a significant amount of money. Also, those people that are on pensions are getting cash bonuses to compensate for the carbon tax. They're also getting some additional increases. So those that are on pensioners are actually doing reasonably well, I would suggest, out of the budget. Those people that aren't, I believe, a lot of my clientele, which are those pre-retirees who are copping a cutback in the amount that they can contribute to their superannuation. So that's going to be a big deal. $1.4 billion over 4 years is what those people are going to miss out on.
Well, Gavin, just on a personal note, a lot of money coming into people's hands, a lot of gifts in the budget last night. With the level of debt that the government may well be taking on and the doubts over whether a surplus can be delivered, what are your thoughts, coming back to your sweet and sour thoughts right at the beginning of our conversation?
As in overall summary of the budget?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, do you think it was a good budget, or do you think it was maybe a bit of a sham, as the opposition is talking about?
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful set of numbers in terms of it's great to be able to get back to surplus. I think by 2021-22 we should be paying off our debt, and that's a really good thing from a national security perspective. But the beautiful set of theoretical numbers are the big question. If it can be achieved, it would be fantastic. If it's not achieved, then I think there's going to be question marks around should have they been directing the cash splash to more structural changes. Whilst they are doing some great things, though, with the disability insurance scheme and dental care scheme as well. I guess one of the big losers is foreign aid, so that's the increases to foreign aid are being deferred as well. I guess from our point of view, that's a bit of a disappointment. It's always good to help those that are those countries and nations that are struggling.
And of course, organisations like Micah Challenge are saying that lives will be lost if those numbers, when it comes to foreign aid, are not picked up to the Millennium Development Goal level. So it's a tough one with that foreign aid. Yeah,
it is. If you can show those real outcomes with the aid, it is a real tragedy. Yeah, and I think that was one of the big strong points about Kevin Rudd when he was in power, that he was actually very supportive of, and I think he'd be disappointed to see that foreign aid figure go down.
Well, Gavin Martin, a beautiful set of numbers in theory, and yet to be seen whether that surplus can be delivered. And really appreciate your insights into last night's federal budget, and thanks for being with us again today on 2020.
Thanks again, Neil. Great to be with you.